Hello, everyone. Hi. I hope you can hear me. Excuse me. We'll get started in just a few minutes since I had the stream set to start at noon. So we'll just wait a few and see if other people kind of start wandering in around, noon my time. That's in about 2-3 minutes. So we'll see if anybody else comes in. I hope you guys have been having a good weekend so far. Hello, AK. Welcome. Good to see you again. And I'm really glad to hear that you had a good weekend so far, Metaloop. And yes, to anybody who's maybe new here, if this is your first stream, let me know where you guys are listening from today. I always love knowing, because we're a really tiny group, but we're a really diverse group. So I always love hearing where people are from. And if anybody was here at my stream 2 weeks ago, I had some internet problems at one point. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again today, but just in case it does, if you see me drop you guys into the screen that says "Be right back," I'm doing my best to just fix any issues. So if you see that happen, just be patient with me, and I'm working to get it fixed. But hopefully the internet cooperates today. Hello, Emanuela. Welcome. We'll get started in just a few, just seeing if anybody else finds their way in before I get started. Nothing too structured today, since this is just kind of like a fun, casual stream just to celebrate the fact that BTS is almost back. I do have a couple of questions that I'm going to be answering, a couple of things I'm going to be talking about, but otherwise it's mostly just going to be some casual chatting, so nothing super, super structured today. All right, so we'll go ahead and just get started. Like I said, nothing too structured today, so nothing super crazy to really dig into, but we'll go ahead and get started. Um, as long as everybody can hear me okay, and like I said, hopefully the internet cooperates with us, fingers crossed, but um, hopefully it should be working now. I was briefly on a screen where my microphone isn't attached, just, kind of to wait a little bit, but hopefully it should be okay now. Let me know if you can hear me. I know there's a little bit of a delay between when I'm speaking and when chat pops up, so. Okay, awesome. That's great. So before we get started, just some of the housekeeping on my end, like I usually do. My next video, which I'm hoping is going to be coming to you guys really, really soon, is going to be my video about liminal space and BTS's work. Liminal space is a very specific internet popular aesthetic that usually deals with like abandoned places or kind of like very forlorn, empty spaces. And it all kind of deals with states and periods of transition. So I'm really excited to talk about that with you all. I'm really happy with that video so far. And then throughout June and July, I'm still going to be working on my Welcome Home BTS series. I was obviously hoping to get that up and ready for when everybody was getting out of the military, but with 4 members getting out within like the span of 2 days, I wasn't so successful in getting that up and finished, but I will be working on that throughout June and July still. For Namjoon, I'm going to be analyzing Mono. For Yoongi, I'm going to be analyzing the evolution of his Augusty albums and Augusty as a character. And then I'm going to be doing Jimin, Tae, and JK together in one video, covering their growth as the BTS Machines and how their musical journeys have kind of shaped them as people. So that I think that'll be really fun as well. Hi to everybody who is joining. If I haven't said hi to you yet, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, thank you so much, AK. And did I see Hobie's pictures? I'm assuming you're meaning the recent ones that he released for his upcoming song. Yes, I did. I don't know if you guys know the joke that there are 2 types of armies, and the armies who get excited by like those types of pictures, and then the armies who are like, "You'll get cold, sweetie. Please close your buttons." I am a "You'll get cold, sweetie" army, so I'm like, Hobie, you will get cold. Please go put on a jacket. Yes, that. Yep, I'm a "You'll get cold, sweetie" army. And I know I think it was in my last live stream, we were all wondering if we would actually get Festa content, and I was really, really hoping that we would. So the fact that we just got announced that we are, in fact, having a Festa this year makes me so happy. And I love the little news preview that Jin and Hobie did to kind of tease the whole upcoming schedule. That was so much fun. And I absolutely love the way they did the Festa schedule. Just that beautiful graphic is so fantastic. And I'm very excited. We already got the first set of pictures today, where Jin and Hobie swapped the concepts for the astronaut and Jack in the Box. So if you haven't seen those yet, check those out on Weverse. They're really, really cute. It's already off to such a fun start. Festa is just, it's so special. It's such a, like a time when I feel like ARMY can just really fully, we can be ourselves and we can really get excited and enjoy just being ARMY. And so I'm so glad that we have that this year, since it is such a special year with the rest of them coming home. 4 of them coming home during Festa, and then a little bit later for Yoongi. But I'm so glad that we kind of get to have, we were probably already going to be celebrating, but I'm glad we get to celebrate in that way too. It's just so much fun to be able to have that. Festa's always been very special to me. And hi there, Don't Feed the Bears. Hi, Karen. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces from a few different live streams. I'm really glad to have you guys here today. I hope you have been doing well. And it was really sweet talking about Festa. It was really sweet seeing that like news spoof video because it was just good to see Jin and Hobie interacting again. Obviously, we got the Run Jin episode together, and when Jin did his live stream for Echo's release, Hobie was in his comment section. But I'm really glad that we got to see them together in person again. It's felt like way too long. Hi, Sonia. Welcome. To anybody who joined a little bit later, this is just going to be like kind of a fun, casual stream just to share our excitement about BTS's upcoming reunion and just everybody getting out of the military soon, and just kind of keeping the Festa spirit as well to just kind of talk and have fun. So I don't really have too much of an agenda today, but I did get some really great questions and comments in my my community post that I made on the subject. So I'm going to be talking about those, and then of course any other questions that come up in the chat as we are talking, we can go over those as well. So nothing too structured today. Alrighty, so like I said, I got two comments, and you're both here today. I'm glad that you are. So thank you, AK, for your comment about the tours, and thank you, Metaloop, for your questions. I'm really excited to dig into both of these. AK had mentioned about going to see J-Hope's live viewing for the Osaka show, and thinking about the concerts and like the members who have had concerts and solo tours and things, and how that will potentially affect group dynamics going forward. And I think that's a really interesting thing to discuss, because we have seen, and we haven't seen Jin's concerts yet. We've seen like his showcase when he released Happy, and of course last year when he did Festa right out of the military. So we're seeing between him, J-Hope, and Yoongi, we're seeing very different styles of concerts. And that's really interesting, because in a way it almost reminds me of concerts when BTS used to do their solo work. As somebody who I went to PTDLA, and PTDLA was amazing, but obviously they were sticking to just OT7 group songs. And so seeing the way individual members now are doing their tours, or when they have done shows and showcases, just like little performances here and there, it almost does feel like a return to that style of seeing them perform solo songs, which is, as much as I loved PTD and had a blast at those concerts, it is definitely something that I missed, seeing their solo songs. So yes, I agree with you, Sonia. Just checking the chat right now. Jin had to work so hard right out of the military last year. He did such an amazing job. So I was really glad to see that it's both him and Hobie this year doing, and they're doing so much work to make sure that we are entertained and having fun as ARMY. So I think it's really really cool that they both are going to be doing it this year. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us. And like I said, if you haven't seen their photos yet this morning, definitely check Weavers. And hello to everybody who just joined. I hope you're doing well. My internet might have dipped a little bit there. So like I was saying earlier, if you were here last or 2 weeks ago and you saw my internet struggles, I'm hoping they don't happen again today. But if you see me drop you on a screen that says I'll be right back, it's just me trying to fix that issue. So and then the other discussion that I wanted to get into was the comment that Metaloop left. So thank you very much. So this is actually like a series of questions that I'm really excited to kind of talk about. The first two are kind of both about like the BU and the BT, kind of like BTS's storylines. And I have a lot of thoughts about the BU that I haven't even really been able to unpack. We only kind of just started talking about the BU when I did my live stream about the most beautiful moment in life. So to answer the question of how do I think BTS will expand on either the Map of the Soul concept or the BU, and how it will evolve, and also if they'll kind of create a new storyline, I honestly think that the great thing about the BU is I don't think that it just, even though obviously youth was very central to that, I don't think it's only youth centric. And I really feel that even a lot of BTS's early work, like even in the school era, and especially the BU and HYYH, I don't think those have to be like youth or teenager specific contents. I think that they have the ability to continue with the BU and just let those characters kind of grow with them. And especially too, I'm very curious because we've been talking about it for a while here in my streams. They had at some point, I remember even PD Bang was saying that the boys really want to do something for the 10th anniversary of Most Beautiful Moment in Life, and that they were going to be doing that like regardless, that no matter what, they really wanted to be doing that. But obviously the 10th anniversary of Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1 was back in April. We didn't really get anything, so I don't know if they are still planning that, but I mean, this would be a great opportunity to do something with the BU and to do something to honor 10 years with Most Beautiful Moment in Life. I don't know if we'll see that happen for when the anniversary of when Part 2 came out, which is November, I believe, October or November. And so it would maybe be interesting if they, even if it was just like, let's say just a song, like a single that's not attached to an album or, something like that, just like a one-off video or a one-off song, kind of the way like Dynamite, Butter, and PTD weren't attached to any album or anything. They were just kind of their own standalone thing. That would be really interesting too. And I would like to see them continue that story. So I think they will. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that they will. And I like the idea of question 3 of will there be anything about like rebirth? I think that they've already really laid a lot of the groundwork for that. Obviously, it's something I was just talking about with Dionysus in my Dionysus video, that there is a lot of death and rebirth imagery that was already in Map of the Soul 7. And I think that they could really easily expand on that. And even in a lot of the solo work, I feel like there is that same sort of theme. Like, for instance, Yoongi sort of talks about in D-Day, kind of talks about being a flower that's still blooming even in really adverse conditions, compares himself to the lotus flower. So I think that there's definitely a possibility that we could be seeing kind of rebirth cycles in their work, because it's been there a lot in recent stuff, whether you go back to 5 years ago with Map the Soul 7 or you go a little bit more recent. That's a really interesting question of if we would get something during Festa for HYYH. We could. It's entirely possible, especially if they're going to be doing like photos that are kind of like we just saw the ones this morning where those flipped concept photos. I could definitely see Jin and Hobie maybe doing some sort of like, let's be in those same outfits or let's go to those same places. I could definitely see like a little, kind of photo shoot or something. I'm not sure though, because I would be expecting, I know that at one point they had called it a project, possibly even in that same interview we were just talking about with PD Bang. So I don't know if they actually have something planned or if it's just going to be like a little, almost like Easter egg type, hey, you guys remember these pictures. I'm really interested as well in the point about will they stay with like the inner self struggle, or will they go a little bit bigger? That's really interesting to me because, again, kind of talking about, and you guys know me, I'm a Map of the Soul girl, so I always tend to go back to Map of the Soul. But Map of the Soul already really feels like a hero's journey in a lot of respects. And I always go back to the song Make It Right. There is a lot of like classical hero stuff in Make It Right. They mention feeling like heroes. And then a lot of the lyrics of that song are very much about the hero's journey. It's about, starting at one point, going on your adventure to try and, find whatever your goal is, and what it feels like to accomplish that goal and come back home. So I would honestly really love to kind of see like them make use of the idea of heroes and mythology. I think that would be really interesting. And something that I think is really interesting about BTS and always has been is that they can take those really big concepts and then still kind of make them very personal, which again is something that I was just talking about a lot with Dionysus, because they're taking Dionysus, the Greek god, and all of the spectacle that Dionysus had in mythology, and they're still making it about their own lives and their own careers in a way that I think is really, really resonant. Oh, that could be interesting. Meta loop something in J-Hope's song. That would be really fascinating. And yeah, I agree, Sonia. I think a rebirth theme would be really interesting. Talking about myth, I could even see them leaning a little bit into like the phoenix, like rebirth, rebirth from the ashes type of thing. That would be really interesting to explore. And death and rebirth was so central to so much of Map of the Soul 7. There is a lot of death and rebirth just in the concepts, in the lyrics, not just with Dionysus, but with other songs like Black Swan, On. I mean, On's music video is so heavy in like the death and rebirth symbolism, especially with the dove on the battlefield and things like that. There's a lot of death and rebirth in On. So I could definitely see them picking up where a lot of those themes left off. And that's part of why I think the BU would be a really interesting thing for them to explore again, because there's a lot of the BU's plotline is kind of that cyclical nature of, going through the event, failing, trying again, and going through it again, trying things a little bit different and seeing what happens. There's a huge amount of death and rebirth imagery. I was actually just having a little conversation with somebody over on my Twitter as well, who was pointing out that there's like a lot of things in the BU and in other related things that seem to be like death and rebirth. So that would be really interesting as well too. I think it's a good way to contextualize like what military service required of them, which was putting everything on pause and then picking it back up. And so it'd be really interesting to kind of contextualize all of that into that one theme. And for your last question there, could I make a wild prediction of what elements, themes, and concepts we'll see in future projects? I don't know if this is like a prediction quite so much as just sort of my hope of what happens. But yeah, I would really love to see a lot of those Map of the Soul era ideas continue. And I think they would, of course, be very different now. But I think that they would potentially be able to use a lot of those themes to tell the story of this is what we experienced and this is why it's relevant. Because I think one of the biggest strengths of something that I've always been attached to with BTS, and like I said earlier, something that I think can still be a lesson that you pull out even of like their earlier pieces of work, is they really do a good job of being the people who are ready to stand up for those who don't really have the ability to voice what they're going through. You guys probably know from my videos, I always talk about No from Oh, Are You Late Too? Because I always think that the impact that No must have had when it came out in 2013 for the students who felt like they had no ability to voice what they were going through, and then suddenly BTS does exactly that in No. I would love to kind of see them do the same thing now that they are older, now that they have gone through military service. I would just love to see them come back and be the voice of like the people who don't get the chance to express what they're going through. And it would be interesting to see how their time having paused group activities and done their military service, it'd be really interesting to see how that would impact what that message would look like and how it would apply to them, how it would apply to us as ARMY, how it would be accepted in like the broader music world. I think that would be really interesting. Ooh, Metaloop. I like both of those so much. Chronos for time or Hermes as like taking the souls to the underworld. That's really interesting. Chronos could be very interesting. And I think it would kind of in some ways fit with what they've already established because like we were saying, there's so many things like in the BU and in their work that are cycles, and it would be interesting to kind of explore the effect of time. It kind of reminds me of the line in Outro Ego, time moves ever forward. And so it'd be kind of interesting to see how they explore the idea of the passage of time would be really, really neat. Hi, Christine. I'm glad you could make it. You haven't missed too much yet. We're just sort of chatting about some ideas as we just talk about BTS and what we think they might do when they get out of the military. So you haven't missed too much. And yeah, don't feed the bears. You're so right. The removal of autonomy that I imagine they experienced when they were in the military must have been really, really strange. And I admire that they took a situation that was less than ideal and, you know, did their best to work through it. I think there's a lot to be admired about how they handled all of this, but I also don't deny that it must have been extremely difficult for them. And I think we've seen that in the way they've talked about things. Jin kind of alluded to it a few different times during like Runjin episodes or like the song I Will Come to You off of his album Happy, you know, which he said he wrote in the military when he was just kind of feeling, you know, lonely and dejected and wanted to come back and perform for ARMY, you know. And we've seen it in certain things that the rest of the guys have said, whether that's on social media or last Festa, they all wrote letters that were shown during Jin's Festa event, you know, and a lot of them were like, it's pretty tough, but I'm doing my best. So they definitely have had a struggle to overcome during that time period. And even though they've definitely, you know, rose to the occasion, it was no doubt hard on them. And I think that they could very easily do some really interesting things with the idea of enduring a hard time and in, you know, kind of having to, because they've always talked about how they feel like they have one identity as an idol and one identity as their other self. And it's like, this almost required that they have like a third identity. So it'd be kind of interesting to see. Yeah, Karen, I completely agree. I'm very curious to see how that's gonna happen. Because everybody has had such different styles, both like musical styles that they've explored and just subject matter that they've wanted to explore. So I am kind of interested to see, you know, what does an OT7 album look like? What does an OT7 conversation look like? And it would be interesting to see what they come up with and what they want to say now that they're back. Like, what is their thing that they want to communicate? So that's all going to be really interesting. So the photos that J-Hope and Jin did, I think that the idea of switching their concepts was just kind of fun and cutesy, but I am actually interested because when it was just like, oh, concept photo switching, I wasn't sure which concept photos they would be switching around. And I think it is kind of interesting that they went back to the astronaut and Jack in the Box. And I don't know if there will be like other photos that are a little bit more recent that they're going to be doing, but I just find it interesting that they took themselves back to the projects that they were doing right after the hiatus was announced. And so it's kind of interesting to me that they didn't pull from anything more recent, but they pulled instead from those two first ones that they did. So I think that's kind of I don't know if that means anything, but I like it. Especially because you guys know me, you know I love the astronaut, so it was really cute seeing J-Hope in the astronaut gear. I liked that a lot. And since did that I know that was really rambly because I tend to just say things as they pop into my head, but AK and Metaloop, did I kind of address what you guys were thinking about with those questions, or is there anything else that I didn't really sort of pull out of those questions that you'd like me to talk about, or that you yourself have any thoughts on? I would love to hear what you think as well. Oh, that's a really good thought too, Sonia, that because they're kind of still promoting the more recent work, they don't necessarily, it's like Echo just came out, for instance, so it's like Jin is still kind of actively promoting Echo and things like that. So it's like maybe they didn't want to, they kind of wanted to respect the more recent work for each other. They didn't want to be like, hey, that's your thing. I'm not gonna, kind of take it and make it mine. Oh, thank you, Metaloop. I'm so glad. These were amazing, by the way. Thank you so much. I was really excited to be able to discuss these. So thank you very much, both of you. All right. So this is just going to be like our generic screen for just anything we want to talk about. I usually like having a little generic screen for us to rest on. And this is one of my favorite BTS pictures ever. This was used as one of their promo pictures for when they did the Map of the Soul 1 concert, the online concert that they did back then. And there's a version where they are all facing towards the back, and then this one where they are facing the camera. So I thought this one was perfect for them actually coming back, because they're kind of facing us again. So if there's anything that you guys were thinking that you wanted to discuss about kind of them finally getting ready to come home, we're not quite there yet. We still have a little bit of time. If the dates are correct, which I assume they are, I assume nothing's changed. Namjoon and Tae are going to be getting out on the 10th of June, and then Jimin and Jungkook are going to be getting out on the 11th. And then Yoongi will be a little bit longer because he's doing the social service duties. So June 21st for him. But we are getting so much closer than I ever thought we would. For me, this kind of felt like a very long, I know a lot of people have said it felt like it went really fast. For me, it's felt like it's been a really long time. That's just my perception of time. But so it kind of felt like this was never gonna come and we'd never get here. So the fact that we are looking at less than 2 weeks, and we'll have almost everybody back together, and then like 3 weeks and all of the members will be back together is crazy to me. I kind of can't believe it. Don't feed the bears. You may be right. That may be my perception of time is always wonky. Maybe that is why. Um, and then AK, you had mentioned, um, yeah, I wondered that myself. I I don't know if because the members have always talked about how much they love being on stage, how much they love doing concerts and seeing Army and things like that. And I know that I, I I think it's true for J-Hope as well. I know it was true for Yoongi and for Jin. They were doing smaller venues. And so I don't know if they will kind of, feel different, like if they're back in a stadium, all seven of them, if it'll be like a different experience again, since it's been, since the last time they would have done it would have been PTD Vegas and a little bit for Busan, for the Busan concert. So I don't know if that will feel very different to them, if, having a much bigger venue, a much bigger crowd, or how it will feel to not have, like full creative control. Because like I said earlier, everybody's tours and concerts have been so different. So it's like, what will that look like when it's a little bit more structured in an OT7 performance? That'll be kind of interesting. And of course, we don't know where they would even go, when they do eventually start touring again, because I know there are so many places that they haven't been able to go in such a long time. And there are some places that they never got to go at all that they probably really want to visit as well. So that's a big question as well, of where do you all think that they'll even go on tour? I hope for all of you in Europe, I really hope that they do Europe, because I know that it's been a drought for you guys. Yeah, I agree. It's been nice to see them building their confidence up a bit more, and to kind of get that moment in the sun, as it were, to just kind of to have the spotlight on them a little bit. It's been really excited. Ooh, Metaloop. I actually didn't know there was new BT21 episodes. That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out, because I know a lot of times they do they're a little bit sneaky about things, and put them into like the BT21 videos and things like that. That's really interesting. So since we're kind of celebrating, and this is kind of just fun, what do you guys like? What are some of your, either your predictions for what they'll do when they're all back together, or your kind of wildest crazy dreams? Because like, you guys know, I have my wild and crazy dream of that we would see the Map of the Soul, the canceled Map of the Soul concert happen, which I know is not going to be a thing that they do, but it's my little dream. So you guys, do you have anything that you're just like, that would be on your like crazy wish list that you would love to see from BTS when they get back, or something that you actually think that they'll do when they get back? And yes, you're so right, AK. Too many places, not enough time. Um, I honestly, they could probably tour for like Coldplay, for instance, has been touring for like 3 years or something insane. I think BTS could probably do that and still never hit all of the places that they want to hit. And it's just it's crazy. It's gonna be wild. Like when they start announcing, concerts and tours, it's gonna be wild. And of course, since they probably won't be doing concerts or tours or anything like that for a little while, because they'll obviously, need to get kind of back into the rhythm and practice and things like that. There's even the question of, what will we get while we're waiting for live performances? Will we get other singles, like, like I said earlier, something like Dynamite, or will we get albums like B or Proof or anything like that, or will we get concept albums? I love a good concept album. I love Wings. I love Map of the Soul. So a new concept album would probably be like very high on my wish list of absolute dream things. And then, of course, will we get any type of shows, like any variety shows or anything from them? Yeah, you're so right, Sonia. It's been a lot of fun, kind of seeing everybody's individual, colors get to come out and everybody's individual light get to shine a bit, and kind of like really be able to show that off in a way that maybe they don't always get to do, when you're trying to balance seven members. So that's been really enjoyable too. I agree, Karen. I hope so as well. I really think that they should do more movies, more live stream concerts. I mentioned this last in my last live stream back when all they could do was live stream concerts because of COVID and quarantine and everything. I remember Weverse would do all these surveys and they'd be like, how would you like to see concerts? Would you like to see like live in-person concerts or streaming concerts or both? And every time I got one of those surveys, I always answered both because it makes sense. It's like you had to develop the technology to do this during quarantine, and it's like the technology is there. You might as well use it. That way more people can experience a lot of the concerts, because that is one of the things that makes me the most sad, is that it's difficult to watch their old concerts unless you are lucky enough to like have an old piece of BTS media where they were included, like some of the memories of discs, or if you have the actual like DVD from a specific concert, because there are so many amazing concerts that you don't really get to see otherwise, and it's just like I really wish that was made more accessible to more people. And the movies are always so much fun as well. I went to see when they released the Busan concert, Yet to Come in Busan. I saw that in the theaters. And when they released, excuse me, excuse me, when they released some of the documentary movies again, I saw those. And it's just so fun. It's so much fun to go and be with fellow army in the theater like that. It's great. Yeah, it's and you definitely interacting with Army in person is always such a special experience. It's always such a treat. Depending on, like what you find with your crowds, you can still have some camaraderie. When I went to see one of the docuseries movies. There was actually an army in that movie theater who was giving people photo cards, which is really cute. Um, just trying to kind of create that concert atmosphere, and like the way that army kind of comes together in fellowship like that. So and I actually, it's very funny, I actually met somebody at my job. I work retail, so I was at my store doing my thing, and I saw the one of the customers that came in had a little keychain clip on of Jimin's BT21 character, and I recognized the character, and she kind of looked at me like, "How do you recognize that character?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a huge BTS fan," and she literally gasped and like flipped her bag around to show that she just had like rows and rows and rows of BTS related buttons and pins on her bag. And then we just started talking about BTS just like right there in the middle of the store. And she reached into her bag and she pulled out like something that she had just made, like, on one of those like kind of like machines that you can like make stickers on and things like that. And she just gave me this, BTS symbol sticker. And I'm just like, I love that we as armies like do that. And we have those things that we're just like, when we meet another army out in the wild, we're just so excited to, to like share the love of BTS and to keep that going. That's one of my favorite things about being army. And I hope that never goes away. Just that level of, you see a BTS fan out in the world, and you immediately want to share that experience with them, and you immediately feel like you have that camaraderie and that kinship with them. It's really, really special. Right? It's when you meet an army in the wild, it's always like a really fun experience. It always feels magical. Yeah, I agree, Sonia. I've been I've been like a lifelong nerd. So, I've always been in some fandom or another, um, both in online spaces and in person. And I've had some nice fandom experiences, but a lot of the fandoms that I'm in, the fandom experience can get very tiresome and it can get very wearying. And you don't ever feel like there's really that much to connect you. But Army always feels like it's on another level when and I've had bad experiences online. I think everybody has, but when you meet Army in person, it's completely different. Like it's a whole different story. I remember, um, I forget which documentary movie it is. I think it's Bring the Soul, which was the Love Yourself era docuseries. I remember seeing that in the theater, and there is a part in that where the boys are all just like having dinner in like this hotel in Paris, and they're talking about the concerts and they're talking about like everybody's little quirks in the concerts. And JK is making fun of Yoongi, when Yoongi goes, "It's so hot, Army, because of you." And he's doing like this perfect impression of Yoongi. And so he goes, "It's so hot, Army, because," and the editing switches to Yoongi in the concert going, "Of you." And the entire theater, when I was there, all started just like dying of laughter at the same time. And it was like so great that we were all just cracking up in unison. And it was just like that type of experience when you share that with the rest of the fans is so much fun. Oh, that's awesome, Christine. I love that. Just that level of energy and having like turning it into a mini concert. That's a lot of fun. I would love to see more of that. I think it would even be cool, like in certain venues. Like I know they did this for the Permission to Dance on Stage concerts. They had the concert and then they had another venue nearby that had like a screen. So you were almost like in like the little overflow concert for, lack of a better term. And I would love to see that happen with more concerts, but in more locations. Like, I think it would be really cool if, let's say, they were having a concert in California, but like you could also be watching it in a venue in New York. I think that would be really neat. I don't know if that's possible, but I think it would be very cool if it was possible. So yeah, I would definitely love to see their concerts be made a little bit more accessible in that way. And I'm very curious what you all think about, like, do you think we're ever gonna see like another Bon Voyage or another In the Soup? I know a lot of people are really, really hoping that Run BTS comes back. I hope so too, but I'm not 100% sure if it will, just because if their schedules are so packed, I don't know if they'd be able to commit to like an every week variety show like that. Um, so it would be, I'm kind of curious, what are you guys hoping that they come back with? And like, what you hope, is that the same as what you actually think will happen? So I'm curious about your guys' thoughts on that as well. And I know I've said before, and I totally stand by this. I hope that when the boys are all back together, I hope that they take a trip together, but not in the Bon Voyage sense. Like, I hope they take a trip that they don't film. But I would also love to see something that we do get to see filmed. So I hope that they kind of have a private trip where they can all sort of get back together and talk about things, because I'm sure they have so many things that they want to discuss and stories they want to share and things like that. So I hope that they do a private version, and then I would love to see, maybe something like a Bon Voyage or an In the Soup. I'm a huge fan of the first In the Soup, and it's like, can we return to that house? Is that house still available to rent? Because I would love to see a return to the In the Soup house. And with it's interesting, like you mentioned, Don't Feed the Bears, that, they do have time. It's been so inspiring and awesome to see how hard Jin and Hobie have worked since they got out of the military. And I know Jin said that when he got out, he just felt like he wanted to do stuff. He just wanted to work and have those experiences. And I wonder if the rest of the guys will feel the same way. If they'll just, once they're finally out of the military, if they will just be so excited that they want to do stuff. And it would be really kind of interesting to see what happens with that. Like, are they gonna start doing these different shows, or immediately jump into working on an album? Like, what is that process gonna look like? I do hope they also take a little bit of time to rest, because I think they all probably need a little bit of a mental break. But I'm curious to see like how they feel, and when they finally get to be BTS again, what is that work gonna look like? And yeah, even just a couple episodes of Run BTS would be interesting, kind of like they did like those special episodes, and it was maybe like, maybe like 6 2-part episodes that they did, something like that could totally work. It's also interesting too with how recognizable they are. I know it started to get a little bit harder for them to do like bon voyages and things like that. Like they would talk about that a lot in when they went to New Zealand. So it's like, where would they go and what would they do? How would they do that, and kind of manage the fact that it's like people would really probably want to see them and recognize them. So that would be an interesting balance as well. And I know Jin, because Run Jin just wraps up, and in the final episode of Run Jin, he said, "Oh, Run Jin will be back someday." So I don't know if he has plans to do something else, like if he has plans to do special episodes, because that would be fun if he does. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely agree. AK, they will definitely, I'm sure, want to swap stories and talk about what each of them, because they were in different locations doing different things, and I'm sure they'll want to be able to talk about those experiences, and really kind of reconnect over that. Yeah, I agree as well, because I don't know, obviously Jin's tour is running until like August, and then I'm not sure, are the rest of the members gonna feel like, okay, we've had like a month and a half, we're ready to go, and do things, or will they want a little bit more time? Will they want the ability, because I'm sure they'll want to visit their families, and they'll want to kind of do some of the activities that they haven't been able to do in a long time. So it's like, do they have other albums that they want to release? Do they have different concerts they want to perform? And so it'll be interesting to see, who's going to do what between now and when we actually have something OT7 related. Christine, yeah, that's a big question as well. And I do think it depends on each individual member, and it's also going to be interesting to see what their energy is like when they're all together, because I feel like they definitely have a different energy when they're all in the same room than when they're separate. And like for Jin, I know I was dreading the thought that Jin would come back and be super serious. So when Jin came back and like immediately did like silly stuff in Renjin and things, I was so relieved and so happy. And so it's like, I do hope that we still see some of that same BTS energy. Of course, people change, and things change, their circumstances change, but I do also hope that that energy that they have when they're with each other, and the fun that they have when they're with each other, I do hope that continues. Speaking as somebody who, I'm at the end of my 20s now, and I've been a goofball throughout my entire 20s, and I hope that I'm still a goofball throughout my 30s. I hope the same thing is true of BTS as well. Silver Sea had said, won't Run Jin be part of Jin's concerts? Yeah, we definitely, he's been teasing that. We'll see some fun stuff. So, but I'm very curious what, like, I'm very curious how, because obviously that's the whole concept of his tour. So it's like, how is he going to incorporate that? I'm almost thinking it'll be a little bit like the showcase that he did when Happy came out. And like he'll kind of have some fun stuff in between the songs. So we'll definitely see how that works out. But I think it'll be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. Don't feed the bears. I think unfortunately, Yoongi probably won't want to do anything that's kind of tangentially related to the drinking show anymore. Unfortunately, I would love to see the same concept though. Like if he wanted to keep the concept but like change the format, I think it would be really interesting. I could even see maybe this is okay. I'll put this on my crazy wish list of things that won't happen, but that I think would be amazing. I would love to see Yoongi and Jin team up and like revamp Eat Jin so that it's like a mukbang show, but like mukbang and answering questions because they always had food on Suchta as well, because obviously you can't drink on an empty stomach, so they would always be bringing in food as well. So it's like you could make it a mukbang show but still have like the Q&A format. There we go. That's my crazy that's my crazy wish list. Hi T-Style, it's good to see you. And yes, I love that. My mom and I are very similar in like sense of humor and how like goofy we are. And so I've all my life I've kind of had the lesson of like you don't have to stop being goofy just because you hit a certain age. So I hope BTS feel the same way, and I hope that they, even if they kind of evolve and they're like, okay, we're older, we're obviously not gonna like find the same things funny that we did when like we first debuted, or we're not going to be exactly the same level of chaotic. I hope that they still know that we're, you're still able to be silly and have fun. So I still hope they have a lot of fun with each other. Oh yes, you're so right. Yoongi could bring back his radio show. That would be amazing. I don't know about the rest of you, but Yoongi's radio shows that he did during COVID quarantine were like the best thing ever. They made my days so much better every day that one of those was on. I had so much fun with those. I think he could even do he could resurrect the like theater concept that they were doing there, like the radio plays where he made everybody act and then compared them all to Namjoon. I would love to see that again. I would love I just miss seeing them on live broadcast. It's been so long since we've seen like Yoongi. Kind of when he started his service, he was kind of like, okay, goodbye, I'm not going to be doing activities or saying things while I'm gone. So it's like we haven't seen him. We literally got that one from JK just a few months ago. And then obviously we've only seen stuff from Jin and Hobie once they got out, but it's just I've missed seeing the fun random things that they would do on live broadcasts, like those live broadcasts where Jimin just decided to build like those Lego flowers and things like that. I just miss those random fun events. It's those were always the best, and it's just the fun delight and surprise of a notification popping up that one of them had started a live broadcast and being able to watch those. I do have a complaint though. Weverse needs to get better about getting their subtitles up, because I feel like when we had V Live always had those subtitles up in like 3 days, and with Weverse sometimes it's like a week, if not longer. And like Jin's just most recent broadcast for Echo, I felt like it took forever to get the subtitles up on that, and I'm just like, I need subtitles. I am dying. So I hope they get a little bit better with subtitles. And I have no idea why it like what the issue is with the subtitles. And like no disrespect, because I know that it is a lot of work to get those subtitles up, but the fact that it used to be so quick on VLive, and then for Weverse Live it takes forever. And even just like when the last episode of Run Jin came out, I don't know if this was just like a mistake or an error or what, but I know that uploaded with no subtitles, and a lot of people were really upset. They're like, we wanted to watch this. What do you mean it doesn't have subtitles? For me, I got a little bit lucky because I tend to watch like Run Jin or Run BTS or anything like that premieres on a Tuesday. I tend to watch it on a Thursday just because of my schedule. So like that didn't affect me super much, but if I had been like waiting to watch it on Tuesday and I saw there were no subtitles, I think I would have cried. Like, don't feed the bears. Yeah, they've been trying to do like that. Oh yeah, you can have the subtitles going like while a live broadcast is actually happening, and it's so difficult. Like, and again, like live translation that must be so difficult, but it's yeah, they have not been good, and they're so spotty, because unfortunately the boys talk very quickly a lot of times, and so it's like you'll only every third sentence will be translated or something, and you're like, okay, I've missed half of what's being said. Yeah, and it's like I know we don't pay a lot for digital membership, but it's like we are still paying for it, and the subtitles and stuff are like really sus. Yeah, yeah, I feel you, T-Style. Like, if I had opened up YouTube to start watching Run Jin and there was no subtitles, I would have been crushed. I would have just been losing my mind. It's even kind of crazy to me that and like I know they have subtitles on Weverse, but they put like all the old Run BTSs on YouTube and then never put subtitles on them for like the longest time, and it's just I've never even like, it's like, what are you doing? These already have subtitles on Weverse. Why can't you put the subtitles onto YouTube? Like, what is the problem? I also wonder, talking about like the issues with Weavers and things like that, and with streaming and things like that. I wonder if things are gonna start crashing again. Like thinking about how the Busan live stream concert crashed after the performance of Run BTS, and it's just like when all the boys are back and we're trying to watch stuff, it's like, are we gonna crash servers again? Are we gonna be stuck with no live stream concerts and things like that because we've crashed servers? We might. Yeah, AK. We live a rough life. Like those of us who don't speak Korean, we struggle. And I'm sure a lot of people agree with me on this one. I have tried to learn and get better at Korean, but I am not a good language learner for some strange reason. I'm just not good at it. So I really don't know much. I know some vocabulary, and then that's about it. If they I would my dream, personally, my dream is to be able to go to a BTS concert in Korea. And so I definitely would have to study very hard to get better, because I'd love to be able to visit Korea, and go and experience, because not only am I a BTS fan, but I love K-dramas, and it's like I'd love to be able to go and appreciate the culture that I feel has given me a lot, and has given me definitely, as an American, has definitely given me kind of a respite from American media, which is definitely not for me. So being able to find kind of that safe haven first in BTS and then in K-dramas, has been really valuable to me. And it's like I would love to go and visit Korea and actually like see all those places, and kind of do my part for tourism, and feel like that's my way of paying it forward. Yeah, definitely. I was also curious about that as well. Metaloop had mentioned, like, are there any Chapter 2 army in here? I was also curious if this was anybody's first Festa. We were talking about Festa earlier, and I remember my first Festa back in 2020 vividly. I'm kind of curious if there's anybody here who's Chapter 2 army, who became army just kind of recently. Is this your first Festa? Or are we all a little bit, I don't want to say older fans, that sounds weird, but like, are we fans from earlier in BTS's history? When did Chapter 2 start? I would say Chapter 2 started when they started releasing their solo albums. Um, so I would say, if you want to like look at like right when their hiatus happened. AK is a Mot 7 army. I am as well. I was like, you've heard me say this in other live streams. If you've watched my other live streams, I became an army right before Mot 7. So it's like I became army because, like, at that time, but not because of it. I literally became an army on Valentine's Day 2020, and then they released Map of the Soul 7 like a week later. So I was very lucky. And Metaloop, Pandemic Army, awesome. 2020 Dynamite. That was, it was, BTS was like the bright light during that time period. Oh, Sonia became army with the astronaut. As somebody who loves the astronaut, that makes me so happy. The astronaut is very special and very important to me, so. Yeah, Metaloop, I would say left and right, and Jack in the Box are, to me, kind of when I think of Chapter 2 is really starting, because they were like the first kind of, and it's difficult because I know Hobie originally kind of intended Jack in the Box to be another mixtape, so it wasn't necessarily made with the idea of being the first solo album, but it did become the first solo album. So I always kind of think of Chapter 2 as pretty much starting after that Festa dinner in 2022, when they said, hey, we have to pause activities. So that would be my thought. And since we're on the subject of festas as well, and we're in Festa right now, when was everybody's first Festa as well? Like I said, my first Festa was the 2020 Festa, and I didn't actually even know what Festa was, because I just become Army in February, and then like by the time June rolled around and everybody's like, it's Festa, I'm like, what is this? Why are we getting all of this content? And then I learned what Festa was, and 2020 Festa is just like burned into my memory. I love it so much. It's so strange to me that like things that happened in 2020, like content and things, have become nostalgic for me, because it's like it was only, I know 5 years is a pretty significant chunk of time, but it's like it's only been 5 years. Why do I feel so nostalgic? Like, but I do feel really nostalgic when I think about any of like BTS's early 2020 content or like 2020 Festa. 2023 Festa was your guys' first Festa? Awesome. Hi, Joanne. It's good to see you. Yeah, you've got to see a couple of really iconic festas. That's really awesome. I agree, AK. Whoever came up with the idea of Festa, you nice. Keep going. You're amazing. We love you. Because it really is just, I don't know, there's something about it knowing that you have BTS content to look forward to every day, even if it's just like a little photo drop here or there. There's just something about it. Yeah, I feel you, Metaloop. That was very much me as well because I literally just kind of stumbled into being an army. I really did. Um, it wasn't attached to anything other than just my own personal discovery of them. And so it was very much, and it was a both a good time to get into them and a strange time to get into them because literally I became army like probably like 2 weeks before quarantine started, and things like that. So um, it was an unusual time period and it allowed me a lot of time to explore them and their work and really get into it. But it also meant that a lot of things that were happening, I was, very much not, like you said, not in the know about certain things. And so, just certain things that would pop up. It's like, what is this now? I don't know what this is. That's awesome, T style. That is really funny. I love that. Yeah, it's the next couple of days and weeks, the rest of the month of June is going to be very, very interesting um, and very exciting. Like I said, to be honest with you, I really did not like this felt like it was never going to come. It really, truly did. And I know when like Jin's military service was announced, a lot of people were like, it's going to go by so fast. And I'm like, no, it's not. And like we said earlier, that's just kind of my perception of time, but it's felt quite long and it's been a very packed few years. And like a very, for me personally, a very busy few years as well. And it's, it's kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal to be here and be talking about this, and be looking at it like, hey, wow, BTS is going to be getting done with their military service really, really soon. And I feel like I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean? I feel like I will believe it when I actually see them walk out of the military. Hello, Bomac. It's good to see you. 2020 was your first fest as well. Yeah, so you and I were running on pretty similar tracks because I had just become Army that February. But yes, Map of the Song when they do all the karaoke booth. I love and Map of the Song, and then when they do the karaoke as well is so great. Good question, AK, about will they offer live stream option of Hobie shows? I feel like they are. I feel like I saw that they were, but I also feel like they said that they were going to do live stream of Jin's concerts in Korea, and I haven't seen any other information about that. So I don't know like when they're going to let us know about these live stream options. Maybe I just missed it in, because sometimes like especially overnight, it can be like a huge amount of Weverse notifications that you wake up to in the morning. So I might have just missed it, but I like we said earlier, the more live stream options, the better. I really just think they should do as many live stream concerts as they can. That's my hope. But yeah, so any of you who did become army like with like post 2022, how has your experience been? I am really curious, kind of like, you know, because it is really daunting to get into BTS content. There's so much. So like, what has your experience been with that? Are there any things that you kind of still wish you could get into? Christine asked, do you think any of the members will appear at Hobie's concerts? At the very least, I think they'll be in the audience. Um, I don't know if any of them would like make an appearance, but at the very least, I think they'll try and be there in the audience. Oh, thank you so much, T Style. That really means a lot to me. I do definitely walk a delicate line, because when I started making videos, I wasn't sure what my audience would be like. I wasn't sure if it would be new army who were like trying to, see what things, like get ideas about what things meant, or if it would be people who have been army for a while who kind of just wanted to come and talk about their theories. And I think it's a little bit of a mix of both. So I sort of do my best to kind of be right in the middle of, I'm trying to let people who have been army for a while kind of like have their space so that they can feel like, their theories are valid as well, and we can talk about their theories, but also like help newer people understand. So it's a bit of a balance. Oh, that's awesome, Metaloop. I'm glad that you found a group that was like able to kind of teach you guys. The teach always sounds weird. I always try not to say teach like when I do stuff, because it's like I'm not teaching people, but like that kind of bring you into the experience. It almost feels a little bit like, when you start a job and you go through orientation. That's almost what it feels like sometimes when you're an army. Like you've come and you've shown up and you are an army now, and you go through army orientation. Yeah, don't feed the bears. It can be hard when you don't really have like a lot of social media experience or like presence. I'm really not on social media. Like I used to be on social media a bit more than I am now, just because I've definitely scaled back. But um, it's a lot of my BTS journey was also sort of stumbling into things blindly as well. So I can understand that. Mentor, yeah, I like that word's a lot better, to have like people who have been army for a while to kind of like mentor some of the army who are a little bit newer, because like I said, it can be overwhelming. There is so much content, and there's so many different types of content, and um you know in my own experience, I remember like very early in my army journey watching the music video for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and I didn't know anything about the BU or anything like that. So I loved it and I was blown away, but it's like my interpretations and my thoughts about it were very different than they are now back when I first watched it. And then when I learned about the BU, it's like, oh, okay, now I see. So it's a very different experience when you kind of go into it cold without knowing anything. And then when you start to learn more about like the history of BTS and their path and things like that, it's a very different experience. So it is nice to have those people there that can kind of show you the different things that maybe you didn't get a chance to get exposed to. Because again, a lot of that material kind of then disappears. You don't have like certain old videos don't have subtitles on them, or pieces of media that were on DVD box sets or things like that. Those DVDs aren't available, anymore unless you like buy them on eBay. So it can be difficult to get that full experience. Or maybe if you didn't, you're not on Weverse, you miss some stuff. So it's difficult. That's a really great point, Metaloop. It's everybody can kind of contribute to when we theorize about stuff. And that I think that's really special. That's why I love being an army theorist, and why I love having a channel dedicated to being an army theorist. Because, and I've talked about this before, we all bring so many unique perspectives and thoughts to BTS's work, and we all have such different life experience that we bring to BTS's work. And so it's really interesting to see everybody's different perspectives. I always get very excited to see other people's thoughts and comments and how they add their expertise to a topic that I'm talking about. It's very, it's a community effort, and I think that's really, really cool. I agree, AK. Yeah, I wish their older stuff was more available too. I've made it something of like a personal mission to collect a lot of older BTS media. Like, it's always a foregone conclusion. Like every holiday, if like my parents are getting me gifts or something, it's like just find me an old piece of BTS merchandise and on eBay or whatever and buy it, and I'm happy because it's just I want to have. And I'm a big believer in like having the physical copies of stuff. So I find it very upsetting when I can't get a physical copy. And so I like being able to have the physical DVDs in my hand. And I have like a couple of old memories of DVDs that way and a couple of old concert DVDs that way. One of my prized possessions as an ARMY is I have a DVD of the Wings tour from 2017 in Korea, and it's beautiful and pristine, and I love it so, so much. And I don't know a lot about making DVDs. I actually pretty much know nothing about making DVDs and the business of like selling them and things like that. So I don't know if there's a reason why those aren't available more, but it kind of makes no sense to me because then a lot of these things thrive on the resale market, and I'm like, I would think that Big Hit wouldn't want those things to be like, they wouldn't want eBay sellers making those money. They would want to make that money. And so I don't know why some of those older things aren't more readily available. I'm not sure what the ins and outs of the business side of that are, to be honest with you, but I do wish it was more accessible for people who are newer ARMY, because there's some stuff that you just can't get, and that's really unfortunate. Yeah, I that is so accurate. Don't feed the bears. But just having like the CDs and the DVDs and getting to know things. My big thing as well was watching YouTube videos that people put together using clips from certain DVDs or things like that, and then I was able to kind of learn, oh, that's from this DVD or from that DVD. And it's unfortunate sometimes when those things get pulled down for like copyright issues, because it's like that's how new ARMY learn. That's how new ARMY are exposed to things. Those are such good goals for things to own, especially an ARMY bomb. I actually just got my ARMY bomb recently. I was, it was a debate that I had with myself of if I wanted to get one before PTDLA, but I knew I wanted to kind of like film the concert on my phone. And I was like, I don't want to be holding my phone in one hand and an ARMY bomb in the other. That's going to be chaos. So I prioritized filming it instead, which I'm glad I did. And then, so I just recently got my ARMY bomb. And so now it lives on my BTS merch shelf, and it's very nice. I love it. Yeah, Weverse is such a special platform, to know that you have the ability to interact, and obviously, they only see certain posts and they only answer certain posts. So it's like we don't all get to interact with them the way we might want, but being able to know that they're on there and they're reading posts and they're doing things, it makes it a very special place. You are so right, Joanne. They are always working so, so hard. And knowing how hard that they worked before, during, and after their military service, um, is just wild. I mean, who else does that? Like legitimately, who else does that? And I'm so impressed by how hard they've worked and how much thought they've put into what they've done. Um, it's crazy to me. Meta loop, I agree. I totally relate to that. So 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 much. Yeah. AK, yeah, what hiatus? Yeah, that's the problem. I think if, like for me, One of my big things that I always kind of have wanted to do, it's like on my army bucket list, is I wanted to go back and watch like a lot of their earlier live broadcasts and things like that, because I've seen clips from certain ones, and or like when they used to do YouTube lives, like when they would do like little vlogs, and it's like I never really got a chance to do any of that, especially when like other content is coming out and then you're watching this new content that's going on while they're in the military, and it's like, so I never really got a chance to go back and watch like a lot of those old V lives like I wanted to, like from back when V live still existed. Oh yeah, finding all the interviews and the shows and all those things that they've been on, all of those different, and like again like things that they've maybe done in Korea that then aren't super accessible, and that's still going on. Like there were a couple of Korean variety shows that Jin was just on recently, that don't have English subtitles like and things like that, and it's just like, that's so frustrating. Oh, no worries. You fell asleep. No worries at all. This will be up on the channel as well, so you can watch it after the fact if you'd like. No worries. Yeah, I apologize to everybody who's watching me in like a time zone where it's like nighttime, or a little bit later or even a little bit earlier. For me, it's like 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon. So it's actually, I live in Florida. It's actually a nice day here for the first time in like several days. It's been raining like nonstop. Well, not nonstop because it's Florida, but it's been raining every single day, like pouring. Friday, it poured like 3 different times. And so it would be crazy thunderstorm for like half an hour, and then it would be sunny for maybe an hour or two, and then it would be another crazy thunderstorm for half an hour. But it's actually nice today, so I'm sitting by a closed window because I don't want to let things inside, but sitting by a closed window, and it's actually nice and sunny out. So don't feed the bears. That is, yeah, that's a really, and that's a good place to start. You can just go through like the playlist of the Bangtan bombs and things like that. And thank goodness for like fan initiatives like Bangtan subs, Bangtan translations. Like they go back and they do a lot of those old army bombs and things that are Bangtan bombs that didn't have subtitles. Like they are amazing. AK, I would gladly send you some rain if I could. I would make it a little less intense though, so you could actually get like a nice rain instead of like an absolute downpour. It's Florida thunderstorms be crazy. Yeah, Metaloop, you're so right. It can be difficult, like, and especially like I can definitely attest to this as like a theory based YouTube channel. It can be difficult to kind of do theories sometimes when you don't have all of the like the material to back something up. You're like, okay, this is as far as I know. Like the BU is a big one for me, that I love talking about, but I also know that I have a very incomplete understanding of the BU, just having become an army in early 2020 and not like having gone through HYYH when it was coming out. And like things like the Save Me webtoon aren't quite as available anymore. And so, like I know that a lot of my analysis of the BU is a little bit lacking, but it's what I am glad that I can do is sort of start sharing my ideas, and then like people can kind of pick them up and do like a jumping off point. So it's like, that's very nice. Bomac, that's a great idea. Like some sort of like language, like like when they do like headphones at international meetings and things like that, like at the UN, and it's like they have the headphones that translate into the different languages. It's like we need those. Yeah, AK, I'm right there with you. It's very there's so much stuff in the BU that I don't know about, which is why I tend to like to analyze the BU based more on like what I think like the archetype of the characters were that BTS were portraying. It's like how would I describe their characters, not so much how would I describe their plot line, just because there is so much that I know I'm missing of the plot, so it's so much more accessible for me to analyze it from like the character standpoint. So sometimes it's just like I just got to figure out ways to make it work. Don't feed the bears. Yeah, I know. I totally get that. It can be a little bit it's a little bit like this is all just who knows. But I'm glad that we all kind of are on this journey together to just sort of come up with, our own theories and our own thoughts. It makes it a lot more fun. And I really do hope that I think that's my most sincere hope for whatever BTS content we get when they are, back from the military and doing work again, is I want something that we can sink our teeth into. I want something that we can just have theories about and talk about and do all of that. And whatever that is, whether that's some sort of continuation of the BU, or it's a mythology concept, or it's something dark, like I know there were some rumors that it was going to be something on the level of like Black Swan or Fake Love. I would just love something that we can analyze, and just have theories on, and just, I miss that. I miss that so much. And it's we've gotten some of that with like their solo work. We definitely have the ability to analyze some of those things, but it's just like, give me a good music video that has a lot going on in it, like On or Fake Love or Blood, Sweat and Tears. It's like, yeah, give me something to analyze. Yeah, well, I love that is my favorite thing too. I love watching people's theories start to take off, and just watch people go back and pull stuff out of, older things, and because like I said, we all bring our own things to the table, so it's so cool to see how people will pull from things that they know, and things that they're familiar with, and will go, wait a minute, I know exactly what this is, and just have those theories in some way. So I would almost love two different things, because I would love something where we could get back into the BU and we could theorize with the BU, and the continuation of that storyline. But I would also love something that was separate from the BU as well, because it would be really fun and interesting to be able to just analyze from the ground floor, something like On, where it wasn't attached to anything related to the BTS universe concept. So we could just kind of like come up with anything. I would love to see that as well. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, you're so right, Joanne. It's so funny. I saw that. I didn't watch the video, but I saw the video come up in my feed, from like I don't know if you guys have heard of the channel like Watch Mojo, which is like a kind of like a movie and TV analysis type channel. And then there's one called Miss Mojo, and it was, I'm assuming, because they've done videos that are very friendly towards BTS, so I'm assuming that they had kind of done this video almost as like they were addressing people who weren't in the know, and they were, kind of bringing them up to speed. But the video was called like, where did BTS go? Like, where has BTS been? And I'm like, well, first of all, they've been in the military, and second of all, they've still been doing stuff. Like, what do you mean, where did they go? Oh, did you? Yeah, that same video. Yeah, it's a very good. It's like a very eye catching video concept because I do think if people who weren't in the know about that probably were like, oh yeah, where were they? And it is a good opportunity to kind of like grab people's attention and see what's up. Yeah, and I've seen a couple of their other videos, like different K-pop related videos, and I'm just like, okay, BTS better be number one on this list whenever I see those come up. So I will probably be on stream still for probably about like another half an hour, 45 minutes. So if there's anything else that you guys specifically wanted to talk about, whether it doesn't specifically have to be about like BTS's military discharge and like what we're hoping for. It can be anything. But if you have any other specific things or questions or anything we wanted to deep dive into, please let me know. Ooh, Metaloop. I like that. There is kind of a lot of like dream, things going on. Even with "Don't Say You Love Me," Jin kind of said that he almost intended it to be a little bit flashbacky. And so there's a lot of kind of dreams and in different interpretations and like, is this real or isn't this real? A little bit of illusion type things. That just almost kind of put me in mind. I think it would be really cool if BTS almost did like kind of like the movie Inception, where like dream within a dream, what's real, what's not. That would be a really interesting video concept too if they kind of pulled some of that in. The other thing that I would love to sort of hear your guys' thoughts on, if you want to, because I know this is a bit of a personal question, but I would love to hear as we're celebrating Festa and as we're waiting for BTS to get back. What, like, obviously we've been here talking about BTS for a while. I've had my channel for a little while, but I would love to hear what BTS means to you guys on a personal level, if you feel comfortable sharing. Whether that's how you became involved with BTS or just like what BTS means to you in your day-to-day life. This is something I see come up a lot in like my video comments and things like that, where people talk about BTS finding them when they needed it, when they were going through a hard time or anything like that. So it's like I would love to hear what BTS means to you guys and what BTS coming back from the military means to you guys, and like kind of what an OT7 reunion means in your own life. For me, I've discussed this a bit on the channel before. You've probably seen it in my intro video. BTS, I found them in a time period where I was really struggling with my confidence and I was really struggling with my self-perception. And that's part of why the Love Yourself message is so important to me. That's part of why Namjoon's mixtape Mono is so important to me, which I will be talking about when I do the video on Mono, and how Mono, in particular Moonchild, really helped me shift the idea of how I thought about myself. Because I always sort of thought of myself as somebody who was very lacking and needed to get better, needed to try harder and become the person that like other people around me were, and like I needed to be as good as my friends, and I needed to change my attitude to be more like them and things like that. And BTS really taught me to love and appreciate my own self, and that I could still grow as a person, and that I could still, you know, do different things that I wanted to do, but that it wasn't a problem with who I am fundamentally, and that was really important. That was really important to me. Bomac, I'm right there with you. I when BTS is back, it will clear our skin and water our plants. It really will. The sun will be shining, the birds will be singing. It's gonna be great. I think Jimmy Fallon said it best in his interview with Jin when Jin was on there to promote Echo, and he said BTS is going to be back soon. It's what the world has been waiting for. And it's like, yes, you are so right. It is what the world has been waiting for. And I mean, you all are probably you've if you've been watching me for a while, you've heard me mention this 9 million times. You're probably sick of hearing me mention it, but to me, what is so special about BTS, what made me an army, and what I cling to is the idea of them giving voices to people who don't feel like they have voices. I really sincerely hope that never changes, because I think it's so valuable. I think it's very special to have people who are, and the special thing about BTS is they go through a lot of these things as well, so they have the ability to almost talk about it with authority, because they know what it's like. And I really hope that never changes. I really hope that they're still able to give that voice to people. Yeah, AK, I totally know what you mean. It's they really they give strength in a way that is so beautiful. Oh, T style. Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. They they really do make like a bad day better. Like this is gonna sound so silly, but like I just had on just literally on Friday I had to have some dental work done, and I'm such a scaredy cat when it comes to stuff like that. So I was terrified, and literally the thing that got me through it was just like thinking about BTS and like thinking, okay, like let me think about like funny BTS moments that'll like help me through this, or let me think about, how I'm going, BTS is going to be out soon, and soon I'll get to talk about BTS and things like that. And it's just like, they do get you through those really tough moments. There have been a lot of tough moments, in my past 5 years of being in an army that BTS has gotten me through, and it's just, they have that power that I just think is amazing. That is a perfect description. Don't feed the bears. I completely agree. And yeah, I agree as well, Bomac. There's a lot of inclusivity with BTS that is very important to me, and I know is important to a lot of people as well. And Joanne, you are so right. I agree with you so much. I think now is a good time to get familiar, for anybody who maybe needs a refresher on it or who hasn't explored it super much. I definitely think Most Beautiful Moment in Life is something that is worth a visit. Meta loop, yeah, I totally relate. I can completely agree with that statement. That's something that I'm actually going to be talking about in my liminal space video that I mentioned earlier, and that I've been mentioning in like previous live streams. Liminality is very much about being in transition. And something that I found interesting when I was researching liminality, and that I talk about in the video, is that for some people, they are always stuck in transition. They always feel like they never really belong anywhere, because for whatever reason, they don't feel like they can, like maybe they don't experience acceptance in their life, or they are part of a group that is always struggling, or things like that for whatever reason. And so the fact that that's part of why I think like the BU is so resonant, and why it can still be resonant to this day. I think there are a lot of people, and I consider myself one of these people, who always kind of feel like we're stuck in liminality, and that we never really lose that sense of being stuck in between. And I love that a lot of BTS's music kind of meets us in that place. And for me, it has helped me feel so much more comfortable in my own life, and in my own identity, my own sense of self. And I'm really very grateful for that. because not a lot of other pieces of media have done that for me in the same way that BTS has. You know, even pieces of media that I love or that have been transformative for me, or very important for me, they haven't quite made me feel the way BTS makes me feel, and they haven't quite inspired me to accept and love myself in the same way that BTS's work has. That's very, very important to me. Of course, you know, I do always like a good upbeat song, a good fun song as well. You know, I'm not saying never have a fun song ever, but I do also hope that we can still get those very important and resonant things, because I think they're really valuable. Yeah, I agree, AK. I think that's a lot of those earlier experiences, a lot of those were very, you know, transformative for them at the time. And I think, you know, they still remember those and they're still part of who they are and still part of that path. So yeah, I definitely think that we'll still feel elements of that for a long time to come. Um, and we'll still see that explored in their music. So did any Yes. Oh, I love that description. Don't feed the bears. Their humanness is inspirational. I agree. I love that description. So did anybody else, did you guys have any other like questions or thoughts that you wanted to bring up? Anything else that you specifically wanted me to cover today while we're thinking about BTS getting out of the military, while we're kind of celebrating that? Anything that I missed or didn't cover? Because I know I can go off on tangents and go down the rabbit hole with things. So if you just tell me, Rachel, focus. If there's anything you wanted me to specifically highlight or focus on, please let me know. And like I said, this stream will, of course, also go up on the channel as well. So anything that we maybe, you know, you missed if you came in a little bit late or if you had to leave early, you can catch up on this later. And don't hesitate to leave me any comments on the live streams as well. I always check comments. So, you know, if you come up with anything after the fact, if you have any other questions or anything, you know, you can always leave it in the chat. But let me know if there's anything else that you've thought of that you want me to cover today. Hi, Hitchhiker Hobbit. It's good to see you. Yes, I definitely hope that you enjoy rewatching it. Nothing, you're just casual chat like we've been doing, but I hope you enjoy it. All right, so AK is asking me, is Moonchild my number one song? Um, so yes and no. So I Moonchild is my favorite song ever. Um, and so I consider it separate from a BTS song because it is, you know, a Namjoon solo song, but it is my favorite song of all time. And then obviously, if you specifically say what's your favorite BTS song, then that's a different conversation. And I would probably say, I usually say On when I'm pressed for a favorite BTS song. I usually say On. Hitchhiker Hobbit, I actually forgot that Pride started as well because I'm thinking so much about Festa and was like, oh, I'm going to do my live stream for, you know, BTS Gate, but I absolutely forgot that it's Pride. Happy Pride. But yeah, to circle back to your question, AK, Moonchild changed my life, and really definitely helped me embrace who I am, and like, because I used to call myself a pessimist, and I used to call myself like, oh yeah, I know, I'm just like, whatever. And being able to conceptualize myself differently as a moonchild is very, very important to me. So Moonchild is my favorite song ever. Metaloop. So yeah, so I have a bit of like a not super set work schedule. I work retail, and I just kind of get scheduled, hey, 2 weeks out, they let me know this is your work schedule for the week. So I have been trying to do Sundays for my live streams, because it just seems to be a day that works out, pretty well for people. But a lot of it does depend on my work schedule. It depends on if I happen to be off on any given Sunday. So it's not, and unfortunately, I know I didn't give you guys a lot of notice for today's stream. Part of it was because, like I said, I just got dental work done on Friday, and I wasn't sure how I'd be feeling. So like when I came home from the dentist on Friday and I actually felt really good, I immediately hopped on to the community page of my channel, and I was like, hey, live stream on Sunday is happening, because I just wasn't 100% sure. So I would like to try and start giving you guys a little bit more advance notice for the streams, rather than springing it on you like 2 days in advance. But it's usually just whenever I have a free Sunday. So it can be a little bit up in the air. Hitchhiker Hobbit, I'm right there with you. That is why I literally have to say my favorite solo songs versus my favorite BTS songs, because otherwise my head would explode. Because it is very, very difficult. Some of my viewers in Europe might be familiar with this, but there is a program, like a radio program, called Desert Island Discs, and it's on the BBC, and the concept of it is like they interview a celebrity, and they have them pick like 8 songs that they would like want to take with them on a desert island. And even that is difficult for me. Like if you had me do Desert Island Discs BTS playlist, even just picking 8 songs would be really, really difficult, and I would probably have to limit myself to 8 OT7 songs, because then, like you said, I'd be throwing in solos, I'd be pulling in, other things, and then I would be feeling bad that I was kicking out an OT7 song. So it's like, it would be a whole mess. It's like, can I pick 8 BTS songs and 8 solo songs? Because I can do that. I would love to do, like, I think it would be such a fun, like, activity or thought experiment. Yeah. Oh no, make me pick 8 right now. I would love, because with Desert Island Discs, it's also the songs, and then it's like a book and a luxury item. And so it's like, I would love to do the BTS version of that, where it's like, pick 8 songs, a piece of BTS related merch, and like maybe, something like a piece of media like Run BTS or something, like pick a single episode. So, and then the solo question also becomes difficult. Last week in my chat, we were talking about favorite solo, like from everybody's solo albums. And I'm like, okay, are we just talking their recent solo albums, or are we talking about like their solo work overall? Because then that's different too. Because it's like, I have different like things that I would pick if we were going for all of their your luxury item is the proof album. That is, yes, that is the correct answer. Bomag, for me, I do tend to have my favorites that like really don't often change, but the problem is like narrowing it down. Like right away, I know if you made me pick 8, 3 of my 8 would right away be on Black Swan and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. But then it starts to get a little bit like, okay, so then like what else would I put in there? Like, because I'm very partial to like Microcosmos, for instance. So it's like Microcosmos could go in there. I'm trying, goodness me. So there's 4. There's 4 at least. On Black Swan, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Microcosmos. Definitely, definitely 4. What else? Let's see. And like, I'll just stick to OT7 songs to not complicate it. Maybe Run BTS. I'm a big fan of that song. I do love that song a lot. It's a good energy one. Um, hmm. On Man is a good one too. Any of the B sides? If you love, so, yep, I feel you on Amygdala. Yeah, I love Amygdala. Um, and for me, it's like if you allow solos, then it's like I would also want to be pulling stuff off of Mono and Hope World and the first two August D albums. So it's like then it would get even more messy. Um, and you guys know this from a previous live stream. I'm a big fan of Walian, so it's like I could take Walian too as well. Um, so let's just go off the cuff. Let's go off the cuff. So on Black Swan, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Microcosmos. Uh, let's throw in Walian. Let's throw in Run BTS. Let's throw in We Are Bulletproof the Eternal kind of holds a special place in my heart because it was at PTDLA and it made me sob. And so that became it was already a very special song and it became even more special to me. And I think I would probably have to round out with Mic Drop because it is the first BTS song that I ever listened to. So that would be my off the cuff. But then see, now I just thought about Spring Day. I might have to switch out something for Spring Day. See, this is why it gets difficult. And then, like Hitchhiker Hobbit said, like, what about Ampon Man? And what would like my BTS luxury item be? I would probably take my Wings DVD. Like I was talking about earlier, my Wings DVD is very precious to me. So it's like my Wings DVD and something to watch it on would be my luxury item. And then like if I could probably take like one episode of something related to BTS, it would be the zombie episode of Run BTS, because it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, like I because I of the time that I became ARMY, I was still so new to them and seeing On in Grand Central Station was like a revelation. I'd never seen anybody, perform like that. So it was just, it was transformative. Bomac, that is an amazing mix though. That is fantastic. Like all of those are great. And AK, yes, My City, Outro Her, beautiful. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that sounds beautiful. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I have I started a collection of Pandora charms that specifically remind me of things related to BTS, and when they came out with the cherry blossom, I immediately got that. So I wear the cherry blossom a lot as like a necklace, and it takes me to Spring Day right away. But I love seeing everybody's. It's so cool to see how like a diverse group of songs that we would all pick. I love that so much. Hi Sequoia, no worries at all. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. We've just been chit chatting. We got on the subject of picking like what BTS songs we'd take to a desert island, but we've just been chatting casually and having fun celebrating that BTS is almost home. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I bet that is stunning. I bet that is so beautiful. Right, I'm right there with you, AK. There's too many songs to pick. It's so much. To be honest, it would be easier to ask me to pick 8 BTS songs to like you get the whole discography on the island, but you have to pick 8 BTS songs that you aren't going to take with you. That would actually be easier for me than picking only 8 songs to keep. Like Metaloop, yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. It started just with a purple heart. Like my parents got me the purple heart charm for the bracelet, and then it was, I just started expanding because Pandora also had an astronaut charm. So like, of course I had to get the astronaut charm when Jin left and gave us the astronaut. So it's like, I have the purple heart and the astronaut and a bunch of other things. I have one, it's just like a silver heart that has love yourself engraved on it. So it's like, I have a lot of, very fun BTS charms. I have a moon charm since I love Moonchild and Jin song Moon. And I have that cherry blossom. So it's a lot of fun. So if we're doing the desert island discs concept and we're saying that we can only pick 8 songs, what if we were all on a desert island together and we all just picked 8 different songs? And then we would have, we would all be able to have like the complete discography. Metaloop, yes, I have the wind chime as well. I love it so much. It's beautiful. It hangs in my closet. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense because obviously it can't get any wind in my closet, but it means I can see it all the time. So my first piece of BTS related media is also very dear to me because my first BTS merchandise was my album, my Map of the Soul 7 album copy. So it's like that has a very special place on my shelf. Map of the Soul 7 sits there. It's, I have all my other albums arranged almost like books on a bookshelf, but Map of the Soul 7 sits front and center. Right, T-Style? Teamwork makes the dream work. So if we each took 8 songs to a desert island and we all, got together, we could have a BTS party and it would be great. No problem. This is how ARMY works together. Oh, that would be so cute, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I love that. And that is so much fun to make different key rings and magnets. I bought a bunch of pins for Jin's concert, so I have some pins that I want to get one with the astronaut, like the cover art for the astronaut. I want to get one of those still, but I apologize. That was like water drinking ASMR right there. I apologize for that. Alrighty, so I think I'll start wrapping things up. This was a blast. I'm so glad that we were all here. We got to chat and kind of celebrate Festa and the boys getting home soon. Um, I was so excited to talk about all of this with all of you and share the excitement. It's surreal to have BTS coming back, and I'm sure at some point soon I'll do another live stream. Like I said, whenever I get some free time and we can kind of, I think the celebration is just going to keep continuing. I think the entire month of June, people have been calling it BTS month, and it really is. And so I'm very excited to keep celebrating with you all that they are finally coming back. If you missed the beginning of the live stream, I'll just go back to my housekeeping slide here. I'm still working through my Welcome Home BTS series to kind of welcome them all back. So keep your eyes peeled throughout June and July for those videos. And then I'm hoping to get you my liminal space in BTS's work video very, very soon. I'm still in the video editing stage of that, but I'm moving along at a pretty good clip. So I hope to get that hopefully within like a week or so. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I'll let you guys know when my next live streaming opportunity is. So As always, please like feel free to leave me comments in, you know, if you like watch this live stream back and you have any other comments that you want to leave them in the community section of my channel. You guys know I love talking to you. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here and celebrating with me. It's been such a blast. I had so much fun with you. Thank you all so much. And yes, I will see you next time, AK. Thanks for being here. Yes, I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend. If you have a little bit of time left, like me, or if you're getting ready to start the week, I hope you all have a good week. I hope you all, like, if you have a work week ahead, I hope it goes well. If you're resting, I hope that goes well. Happy Festa, everybody. You are so welcome, T-Style. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Happy Festa, everybody. Have a blast. I can't wait to see what else we get. And yeah, look for me again soon. I'll be, you know, I'll post like when the boys get out of the military. I always like to post like a little picture and things. So look for me there. And I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy Festa. I'm so excited too, right, Sequoia? I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we are having a Festa this year. I wasn't 100% sure that we would, so I am thrilled that we are having a Festa, and I hope everybody has a blast. Just enjoy every single second of it. And yeah, like we were saying earlier, now is a great time to also revisit a little bit of the discography, revisit Most Beautiful Moment in Life, revisit Map of the Soul, you know, just go back and re-listen to your favorite BTS music. It's a great time. Those 8 songs that we each picked for like our Desert Island Discs pick, like just listen to those and have a celebration. Thank you so much, Metaloop. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Borhe, everybody, have a great Festa, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Thank you all so much for being here.